We are so delighted that violinist Francisco Fullana is back in Austin, Texas to perform with our Austin Symphony Orchestra the Four Seasons of Buenos Aires. Welcome back to Austin, and thanks for coming to the KMFA studio.
So happy to be here. It's extremely exciting to be back here. We were just, off air discussing without masks,
Last time,
being able to be in this beautiful space, beautiful building that you guys have here, and yeah.
That was a little bit dormant, a little bit tired, a little asleep, and now it's very active all the
Love
time.
to hear it.
Yeah, and a little bit about Francisco. He was born in Mallorca and started playing violin at the age of 4. I think when you were about the age of 10, that's when your family moved to Madrid.
That's right. Exactly
in order
right.
to let you study violin, because you're starting to show that great talent that you have. And you graduated from the Royal Conservatory of Madrid, came to the States, graduated from, got your bachelor's and your master's at Juilliard. Yeah. And you've been living here for how many years now in the States?
It's been now 17 years.
That's awesome.
I just became a dual citizen less than a year ago. So it's extremely
awesome.
exciting. Yes.
Yeah, that is exciting.
Happy to be an American.
And you've won numerous competitions, too many to mention. I might mention them later, but the Avery Fishery Grant was a big one in 2018. And your CD, The Long Shadow of Bach, had a 5-star review and was CD of the month with the BBC. So, and yet you've been doing so much since.
That's the idea. Yeah.
That's the idea, indeed. So tell us why you wanted to perform the Four Seasons of Buenos Aires.
Well, I think in general, the Four Seasons of all kinds have been such a central part of my performing career, a lot of my output as an artist. I just connect with them. There's something so natural to use, not for fun, but that really comes naturally to me. There's something very primal about both, of course, the Vivaldi, the Richter, which I both have recorded in previous album projects and CD projects, and now in a live version, right, the Piazzolla Four Seasons. There's this something that you feel is almost like primitive and very physical about playing these pieces and kind of just getting super involved.
Yeah, the sounds you make on the violin, some percussive almost.
Very much so. Yeah, it very much sounds not quite like a Mozart or a Beethoven concerto, which I also extremely love. But that's a separate thing.
Well, I know that you've studied the Baroque technique and such, and the Long Shadows of Bach, for example. Tell us what we need to know. I'm sure you've performed Vivaldi's Four Seasons, and I
also
think you
recorded them as well.
I remember seeing that. I think next year you're going to be asked to do both a lot, because next year's the 300th anniversary of Vivaldi's.
Yes, that's right. There's already a few things in the books, and I can play Four Seasons all day. It's like really, they feel so right to me. So it's like so
vital,
so real,
alive.
So vital. That's a good way to say it. I love that. Yeah.
Energy, beautiful life works. So they're calling it nature, but it's really human. It's all kinds of nature, green and human.
That's right.
But you've been described as having kind of the warmth of Itzhak Perlman, and having some of the poise of Henry Schering. At this point in your career, how would you describe your playing, or who has been the biggest influence on you at this point in your life? Sure.
I mean, I would describe my playing. I think obviously it's a journey, what we do as a musician, as an artist, really any artist, visual artist as well, and any of the arts. But there is a process of self-discovery and almost self-work, to really kind of peel those layers and to both be influenced by some of the great virtuosos that we're lucky enough to have in our world, like my mentor Midori. But also to kind of find your own voice and your own path within the classical music realm, and kind of your relationship with the instrument, right, and with the sound. There's so much about, I would say, all the work and thought and efforts and all that goes into finding your own sound, finding your own approach and kind of process to preparing a piece, getting to know a piece, rediscovering it. I mean, I can tell you, it's almost sometimes more difficult to go back to a piece that you played a lot when you were way younger than to learn a piece from scratch, even if you have a short amount of time. So
Would that be because of motor memory, and when you're, like, I'm a lousy pianist, but I can play something I used to play when I was in grade 2.
of course.
Yeah.
It's like it's
I mean,
about
it
like almost
comes
like the
back.
bad habits.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of
It's
bad
like
habits.
there's so much, of course. There's like the muscle memory, the just things that are completely ingrained in you. Obviously, when you're younger, even more, right? The plasticity of the brain and all that. I remember Leon Fleischer will always say, you know, when people ask like, "Oh, my kid is very good at piano. Like, how can we become like you were when you were, you know, in your 20s?" And then he will always say, "It's like make sure that he learns as much repertoire as possible."
Yeah.
Because like he always said, like any pianist, in his case, of course, should learn every major concerto by the age of 20, because then their career will be much easier after that, if that
Very
happens. And that's true. But the flip side of that is that when you bring back a piece, for example, I've been working now on the Saint-Saëns third violin concerto. I just played a couple of weeks ago in Colorado, and I'm doing a big tour with it in July in Spain. And it's like you have to just really almost forget that you've done any of it, and like really make the effort to become as naive as possible and as like exploratory and curious as possible, because otherwise you kind of revert to things that hopefully one has outgrown, and like paths that were not discovered at the time. So
Right, and less responsive to what the orchestra today is doing.
Of course, yeah.
They should be doing this, because I did it that way.
So, yeah.
Very
and
cool.
a lot of, like really like physical things, right? Like tension and even fingerings and just weird things like that. It takes so much effort to undo and bring it back together, but hopefully in a better way.
Well, that's great advice. I'm sure our young students will be happy to hear. That's good advice as well. I did want to ask you about, I wanted one more quote that I really loved. I think it's when you received, or you've been hailed as frighteningly awesome.
Yes.
I can't even believe that. I mean, you're awesome. Frighteningly, it's like, no, it's amazing.
It's a fun quote. I think I don't know. I like to think that I'm a quite energetic person in general, but especially on stage.
Yeah.
And I was playing. I remember it was with the Buffalo Philharmonic playing the Paganini concerto, and so hopefully people come out of the concerts this weekend with the Austin Symphony, with the Piazzolla, and in a bit of that mindset of just like. Kind of rapturous and intense and like all out, performance, and kind of that's the idea. I think that I'm sure the orchestra and Peter will have, and that we'll kind of like really pull it together in that way.
Awesome.
That's the idea.
And I asked you beforehand, you're the co-founder of San Antonio's Classical Music Summer Institute, and you're still doing that. Delighted to hear. How's it going?
Oh, it's going great. So the organization has grown a ton since we started it. I still, kind of would say run the summer festival, which you were kind of transitioning to calling it the Chutam Festival in here as the area code. So we're bringing I think like this year about 30 amazing chamber music artists, strings and clarinet and flute and piano to play 7 concerts, and then. As well, the umbrella organization has grown a ton. It used to be called the Chamber Orchestra San Antonio. Now, over the years, has transitioned into the Orchestra of San Antonio, which is the resident orchestra at the Tobin, Orchestra of the Opera, of the Ballet, and with them, I'm becoming an artistic partner and curator with them. So
nice.
We are, curating a couple of conductorless programs every season, and some special events and special commissioning projects, and a kind of a very close relationship with, now I want to say maybe 11 years with the organization, and it's really, I would say, it's very exciting to see how much it has grown, and still how much it's going to hopefully, grow and bring music to the communities in Texas.
Well, yeah, I'm sure a lot of our listeners will want to make the drive to San Antonio this summer. You have a brand new album. Tell us about that, if you would.
Yeah. I had released a few albums over the now 5-6 years, and I realized I hadn't released a full Spanish music album, which felt like it was a big gap in my discography and my projects. started working with this amazing pianist, Alba Ventura, who's really one of the best Spanish pianists of our time, and we got to work. There's Turina, there's Granados, there's some Sarasate, there's a couple beautiful pieces by Toldrà, which is a Catalan composer,
Yes, yeah.
just extremely almost like Mediterranean, this like luminosity and this beauty to it, and almost like poetry on with notes. And it's been, and we've been performing it a ton, and we have way more to come. Yeah, we're playing in Barcelona in the main auditory, and it'll be my debut there in February of next year. We're playing in Beirut, of all places, in December. We're taking in South America, Germany. So kind of all over the place, which is very exciting.
You have a very busy calendar, and we're so delighted that you took the time out today. Remind us about your violin.
Oh yes, I now almost 7 years. My partner in crime, Miss Mary Portman. It's the 1735 Guarneri. That it's really an amazing just piece of history that I'm extremely fortunate to be part of now, of that line of violinists that have played it over time, and almost 300 years we're coming upon, and
Amazing.
And then so I love Fritz Kreisler was his most famous person that has performed on it. It was his touring instrument for 7-8 years. But
on that instrument.
On this instrument,
So, I think I asked you about that last time, if you can feel his presence when you play. No. But it's yours. It's yours now.
No, we always say we have a really great relationship. It's like a great marriage. So
shadow.
Exactly. No, it's like a like a really partnership, and like kind of being able to just transmit and kind of open up my own voice, and has definitely helped me immensely into finding that that kind of like that voice, that path that we were talking about earlier. So.
Well, we cannot wait to hear you this weekend. He will be performing live tomorrow night and Saturday night with the Austin Symphony Orchestra. The program is In Nature's Realm, and he'll be performing The Four Seasons of Buenos Aires by Astor Piazzolla. Thank you so much for taking time out today to come to the studio and perform for us. Thank you, Francisco Fullana.
Great to see you. Thank you so much.